Hey everyone, this is Coach Beck with 65 Rows Athletics. I'm excited to say that I got a brand new microphone, so all of the coaching videos will have better audio quality. On top of that, this will allow me to grow this podcast. First and foremost, thank you to everyone that I have interviewed so far. This episode of the podcast is with Brandon. We talk about finding our purpose and kind of focusing on that with everything else that we have to do CF wise. I hope you enjoy this. Please like and subscribe. And if you are curious about being on the podcast, or you are for sure that you want to share your story, go to 65rowsathletics.com. Scroll down the home page, and right underneath the YouTube and podcast section, there's a little form that you can fill out. I will instantly get it, and I'll try to reply to you as fast as I can. But that's where you can apply to be on the YouTube and podcast. So with that being said, I did this interview with Brandon last year, and as you can see, it's not the same background. A lot has happened in the past year, but I'm excited to restart on this journey, and hopefully we can grow this community. So let's get to it. Thanks.
So my name is Brandon Kenne, and I'm 33 years old. I'm someone who has lived with cystic fibrosis my entire life. Recently just underwent a double lung transplant, so I'm exploring the new arenas of that and kind of learning as I go. That's kind of the main gist. I don't really know who I am or what I do. It's kind of I freelance more than anything. I aspire to be kind of a motivational speaker and influence people. My main mission in life is just to reach out to those who might be losing hope in life or maybe losing purpose, and just try to help gear people into the right direction and kind of spark a little flame in their life again, just by either whether it's by my testimony and what I've been through and what I'm going through and what I continue to choose to battle, and or if it's just something that I can speak to somebody and just be a friend and offer them some worldly outlooks and, kind of help guide them in that aspect. So it's kind of who I am and what I'm looking to do in this world.
Nice. When were you diagnosed?
Man, I was diagnosed very young, very early. My mom, the way she tells the story is, when I was a baby, I just had messy diapers all the time, and she knew it wasn't normal because I have two older brothers, and so she had those two kids before me, and she just knew it wasn't right. So it took me into the doctor, and kind of a funny story because back then in 1988, 1989, cystic fibrosis wasn't as well known as it is today. So I actually didn't get diagnosed until closer to like 1 year old.
Okay.
That's when they did the sweat test and determined, it's cystic fibrosis, and kind of got me on a medicine regimen at a very young age. So I was fortunate enough to catch it at a younger age, so that I never had to deal with like G tubes or feeding tubes, anything like that. I've always been able to gain weight and all that. So yeah, very young.
Nice. Yeah, I was diagnosed at 4.
Yeah.
And like my mom's story is like, and my aunt, because she's head of all pre-op nurses for Mercy, that chain of hospitals and everything.
Yeah.
And like I went to doctor to doctor to doctor, and then finally my mom called the hospital close to us, and then the receptionist at the hospital, like the main receptionist that like directs you to any doctor, is like, oh, that sounds like CF, go get a sweat test from this doctor. The sweat test came back inconclusive, and then we did blood work, and then I was finally diagnosed. And yeah, my aunt was like, how did I not know? Like, I've been in this field my entire life. I should have known that. So it's crazy.
So back up, you said your sweat test came back inconclusive. So like, was it a light case of CF, or what does that mean when it comes back inconclusive?
So what Dr. Reyes has told me, I still see him to this day. He just said that I guess I was moving too much, and I like I sat there for like 3 hours for the sweat test, and it just wasn't accumulating anything. Like that little tube with the blue, um, I don't know what you call it, syrup,
Yeah.
or like, yeah, just never filled up. And yeah, so they're like, okay, we don't want to waste y'all's time anymore. Let's stick him, get some blood. And then they send it to the lab. And then it was finally, yep, he has CF. Now, do any of your brothers, I'm assuming your brothers don't have CF.
No, so my mom had 4 kids and I'm the one in four.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a brother, and my mom says all the time, and he knows this, so I'll say it. If they knew that I had CF, they probably wouldn't have had another kid.
Oh yeah, that's tough, man, because after you know like what it all entails, it's just it's tough.
Yeah. So I've talked to you a little bit, and uh, I made sure that I did my due diligence on Instagram. What is the CF to go?
Dude, that's recent. So my page before CF to go was Lift Conquer. There's Lift
Okay.
underscore Conquer, and if you go back, I started the page as like a working out and lifting and fitness and exercise, nutrition, kind of all wrapped up in one. And the goal of that was pretty much just like, getting in fit with cystic fibrosis and showing others more with CF that like, hey, like we can do this, we can stay active and be healthy, lead healthy lives. And my thing is, I've always hated that the pessimistic like doctor outlook of like life expectancies and stuff like that. So like I channeled all that into like working out and fitness, being like, we're not limited and we can go do. So I started the page off as Lift underscore Conquer. And then I kind of got a little bit sicker and wasn't able to go to the gym as much. And even if I did, I wasn't enjoying it like I used to.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just kind of got into other things. And I'm like, well, because I kind of wrapped up my identity in that and just figured, if I'm not lifting anymore, or if I can't lift, or if I can't enjoy it anymore, then who am I and what am I doing in this world and what's my purpose, And I really started to, dive into the idea that like we have a lot of like suicides and stuff going on, and mental health, mental awareness, things like that. And I wrapped that kind of into my new direction in life, where I was like, well, I want to travel and I want to help influence other people and just kind of be an impact to the community. And then, gosh, there's so much that goes into it, and I'm kind of getting detailed with it.
No, that's
But
fine.
yeah, but I was affected by a cousin who committed suicide, and that kind of he had this whole thing. It was called Jordan's Community, and that really compelled me on like what I wanted to do in my life. And I was like, you know what, I'm tired of seeing people feeling so down in their life and in their circumstances that they feel like that's the answer. And I've been there and I've done it. In college, I got real depressed and I attempted my own life, and it just didn't go. And I'm thankful for that, because I've had a lot of good experiences at. And yeah, dude, it's just crazy because there's just so much that happens in life, and I just really determined that like I want to travel and I don't want to do corporate America, and I want to be able to impact other people. So I went out and I bought a 1982 Westfalia, which is a Volkswagen Vanagon,
Mm-hmm.
camper van type stuff, and I just wanted to do the van life, and it's always appealed to me, and I was always into rock climbing and stuff like that. So I pretty much took Lift Conquer, and I just redirected it, and I put it as CF to go, because the idea is I was like, I'm taking cystic fibrosis to go. I'm no longer staying around hospitals and thinking that I have to be in one place to take care of my health.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost just a mission to kind of defy the odds a little bit more, but in a more leisure way, since the gym thing wasn't going anymore for me.
Yeah.
Still going to be a part of my life now that I'm post transplant. Like I'll get back into the gym once I have all my weight restrictions lifted. But yeah, man, the CF to go is just cystic fibrosis, taking it to go everywhere I go, and hoping to just meet a lot of great people along the way and share my story, impact people if I can. But also I really want to motivate and inspire and kind of lend hope if I can.
Yeah, I get that. I really I appreciate you sharing that about your cousin and what I'm actually what's the proper word for it? I'm impressed on how well you were able to look at yourself and have that self-awareness to pivot. You know, like you said, like you were lifting and working out was your like identity.
Yeah.
And for you to be like, okay, I still want to be active, but you know, my lungs are collapsing in or flooding on themselves and I have to get a double lung transplant. I can't necessarily do that right now. What's the next best thing? Or what is the bigger thing? And
Yeah.
that I gotta commend you on. That's impressive.
Yeah. And like to go into that, man, it's like and this is where I talk to people about like their purpose and passion and stuff like that, is like a lot of people consume themselves, they get busy with work, and a lot of people just get like sad and depressed because they're living for the weekend. And back in 2018, I took a trip out to California and just really kind of did what I want and just had some self-discovery and stuff like that. And it made me realize that like as a society, as an American culture, like we really do work like too much, and we just don't know who we are because we don't get to explore it.
Mhm.
You know, so like, and then we're tired and we wear ourselves down so that like I know a lot of people, I know especially I come from a Catholic German family where it's like you get off work, you go home, you have a couple of drinks, you have dinner, you go to bed, you do it all over again. But then like there's no real time to like discover yourself. And I'm like, no matter where you're at, what position in life you're at, you always have to analyze yourself every year and be like, all right, what do I want to accomplish this year? And it's not even that you have to sit down and write down goals, but it's like understanding like where you're at in life, like mentally, physically, and what you want to do and who you are and like what excites you, because everybody gets excited by something. And it's just, I feel we work too much to really tap into that. And people who can tap into that, I think those are the ones who are living happy lives. And because they're happy, I think they live longer, more fulfilled lives too.
Yeah, I agree. And that it it kind of reminds me of why I'm wanting to do this as well.
Yeah.
So COVID started and I was on I was on a Zoom conference call with the National Strength and Conditioning Association to keep up my CEUs, my continued education.
Yep.
And you know, I couldn't really get out. I was getting tired of my playlist. And then I started listening to different podcasts and everything. And then several of them, I don't know why, I just leaned towards that topic, but it was self-awareness, what you want to do, how to be successful, not necessarily financially, but in the whole grand scheme of things. And I started on 65 Rows Athletics because that's just, like you said, that was my identity as well. Or else I
Yep.
would have, you know, went and got my undergrad in exercise science and went and coached at 3 different universities. And I graduated, and then COVID happened. And then I actually got COVID in November of 2020. And I was like, okay, shoot, I'm going quarantine. I'm having some allergy symptoms, you know, upper respiratory stuff, sinus stuff, some body shakes, and they lasted a day. Whereas
Yeah.
my wife, she lost her taste, she lost her smell, and she was down for the count for the whole week whenever she got COVID. And I didn't think anything else of it. I was just trying to take care of her because I wasn't really showing any symptoms after that. And
Right.
then in January of 2021, I started having this very sharp pain in my back. I'm like, okay, it's either my CF or my asthma. right?
Yeah.
Do you have asthma or had asthma?
You don't even know. I think like with CF, it's kind of just all one thing,
Right.
because
Yeah. So
you get
that,
all that
that
lungs, and you're going to be irritated anyways. And because you have a constant infection, you're going to constantly be inflamed with, which is kind of asthma, being triggered by
right.
cold. I mean, I feel like it's all the same thing. So is it fair to call it asthma or is it fair to call it CF? Like, I don't know. It's kind of all the same to me.
Right. And so I didn't really know what was going on. And then I went to Dr. Reyes and we did x-rays and we did a PFT, and he's like, you're breathing fine. Your small airways in the 90s and your large is in the 80s. Like you're Ryan. You're my Ryan. And everything's fine. I'm like, okay. A couple weeks go by and I'm lifting, and that sharp pain almost made me pass out. And so I quit for the day, went home, and then a couple days later, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law were over, and I got very lightheaded and sat down on the couch. And then the next thing I know, I'm covered in throw up and I'm waking up. I'm like, okay, that's not good. We rushed to
You
the
did
ER. They
pass out.
do, yeah, I passed out and then threw up on myself. So they did a head CT thinking that I had a concussion. I'm passing out and I'm throwing up. And at the very bottom of the CT scan, they caught the top part of my heart and they saw that it was just surrounded by inflammation.
Wow.
So from there, during that time that I was having like all those sharp pains and everything, I wasn't really working out and I wasn't really working on the website because I wasn't working out. Because again, it's like part of that identity thing, kind of like what you were going through. And,
Yes.
and that's how I'm connecting this conversation. And then they cut me open. So I have about a 5-inch scar from the bottom of my sternum to my top of my abdomen, and then they put a drainage tube in and drained my heart from all that fluid. And ever since then, I was like, okay, I really don't know what to do. I'm bedridden and I can't lift anything more than 10 pounds for 10 weeks. It was 6 to 10 weeks. I forget exactly how long it was. I waited way longer to lift than that time period anyways. And that's whenever I got like super serious about the website and everything. So yeah, that identity and being self-aware is crucial with
Yeah,
us, especially.
yeah, definitely. And I think it empowers us too, because like we're forced to go through that, whereas in other people, like they can ignore it their entire life and never really have to like pay attention to who they are, what purpose they're serving in life. But like for us, I feel like we go through so many transitions with our health that is mandated, that we have to self-analyze and constantly rediscover like what are we doing now, that it kind of lets us tap into that mental space and give us the experience that we can share with others to help them kind of find themselves.
Mhm. So you said you went out to California, and is that where you kind of like had your epiphany? What was going
Yeah,
on in your head?
kind of like been ongoing because I started in the corporate arena after college and just started working because it was the status quo, go to college, go to work, start working. Um, so for me, it was like get a corporate job so you can have good insurance to pay for like the cystic fibrosis medicine and stuff like that. And so that was the game plan, and that's what I did. And I guess I can say I became successful at it because it's just what everybody else was doing. It's what I was doing. I was managing cystic fibrosis, holding down a job, paying for my own place type thing. And after few years, the routine was work, going to the hospital, stuff like that. And then you watch other people who accumulate, time off, and they're taking vacations with their families around the holidays, or they're just taking a week-long holiday around Christmas. And I'm working clear up till like New Year's Eve because I got no PTO because I spent it all on like hospital time and stuff like that. And I got burnt out pretty quick and was just like, why am I doing this? Why am I why am I working for an employer who can replace me the next day if they do, like, and then I'm out. It's just, I thought about it a lot. And I think when I went out to California, and just kind of had that experience out there, really enjoyed what I was doing, um, was figuring some things out about myself. And yeah, you can call it an epiphany, but it was just kind of an ongoing nag that was like, you're just working your life away just so you can be in the hospital. And when I thought about it like that, like I'm having a job just so I can be in the hospital, it sounded pretty dumb to me.
Yeah.
So I was like, there's more to life than working and money. And so then I was like, if money's not an issue, then what am I doing? And I wish more people would ask themselves that, like, if it weren't for the money, what would you be doing?
Mm-hmm.
And it's, some people are just, they draw blanks because they don't know. They've never asked themselves, like, and that goes back to like, what do you enjoy? What excites you in life? Because if it's not for the money, you're not going to go to a job. But if you're not going to a job, what are you doing with 24 hours in a day?
Right.
Some people are just going to sleep all day, get depressed. And then, that's where like there's no hope. There's no purpose. They don't know what to do. There's no ambition to go out with friends, or some people just drink their weekends away. And then before you know it, 10 years has passed, and it's like, what do you do? Like, what are you doing with your life that you truly are excited about?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you doing to like have stories to tell your grandchildren, things like that? And we all hold different things to value. And like, for me, it's just being outdoors, climbing, just being active in general, and having fun, crazy stories. Like, I can tell stories about going out to South Dakota and being up a multi-pitch rock climbing and running out of oxygen and doing it anyway because you're already halfway up the cliff. So you're like, I just want to, and
Yeah.
my buddy Nate always freaks out about that. He loves telling that story because my oxygen tank ran out, and I didn't tell him, because I knew they would want to go back down and take care of me. And we got up there and I started climbing without my pack. And he goes, "What about your oxygen?" I yelled back, I'm like, "It's empty anyway." Kept climbing up. He goes, "Oh, you son of a bitch." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Whatever." I'm like, "It'll be fine."
Yeah. Like, what are you going to do? Crawl up here and bring me back down? Like,
Yeah. So it's just stuff like that. Like, I just wish that people, instead of going and getting drunk on a weekend, like take a trip to Tennessee and do something crazy fun. That's not going to be like a drunken memory, like,
right.
I don't know. But maybe some people, they hold value to doing that on a weekend. I don't know. I'm not judging people who do. It's just more to life. You know what I mean? Like, there's
Yeah.
more fulfillment than doing that every single weekend, or taking a trip to Cancun just to do that in Cancun. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
I've had that Cancun trip with my family, but again, it wasn't like with a bunch of friends, and I wasn't really like trying to hook up with someone local. It was my mom, my dad, my aunt, my uncle, my brother, and I. And it was for relaxation only, and enjoy the view and take in everything that God's created. One of
right.
those kind of trips. Now, granted, there was some alcohol involved because we
Well,
were
yeah,
all
you got to have a Corona and lime, right?
exactly.
Uh,
So, but like there was times where I'm an early riser. If I wake up at 4 a.m., I feel like I've already started the day off right because I can do a lot of things without bothering my wife or my
yeah.
dogs. And there was mornings where I woke up super early, even on vacation, and went and sat out on the beach and didn't talk to anybody and just had like me time. That yeah, and um, it was medicine. I come from a family where my dad, he is a captain on the police department. He is about to make colonel in the National Guard and is a security officer on the weekends. So that's been ingrained in me. So I like that's why I was running around and cleaning the entire place before we got on this call, because I can't do anything if I don't feel like everything's taken care of and I'm prepared for what's coming up next.
Right.
Yeah, so I agree. Like you have to separate yourself sometimes and push yourself into your uncomfort zone and try new things and stop living for the weekend. I completely agree.
Life starts happening outside the comfort zone.
Yeah, it does. So let's see. You just on this call so far, I know you're from Iowa, right?
Yep.
Okay. You've been to California, South Dakota. Where else have you been?
Yeah. So in 2016, I got a job down in Arizona, and I lived in Arizona for a couple years, and then that's when my health started doing some funky business, and ended up being on oxygen, and moved in with my parents in Texas at the end of 2018. 2019, my parents had a relocation due to work, which happened to be back in Arizona. And my health kind of had a 6 month spurt where it was doing well and I wasn't on oxygen. And so I moved back to the Phoenix area by myself because I was like, all right, I'm doing better now. And, things are seeming stable. So I went back to Arizona for a year. And then, of course, 2020 comes around and I just felt like I was declining. So I was like, well, let's look into transplant. So that's when I moved back to Iowa. I moved in with some cousins and kind of started the transplant work up here, just knowing that's the direction it was going to take. So it just seemed like I had a few good months, and then every time I took a dive, like the dives seemed to go deeper and deeper into like bad health, and I just saw it progressing worse and worse. And so, yeah, that's why I moved back up to Iowa, and that's why I'm here now because transplant just happened. So that happened. Yeah, my surgery date was November 27th. So 2 days after Thanksgiving.
Of 2021?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's so it's fresh.
It's super fresh. I still can't lift more than 5 pounds. Not supposed to drive. Just funny. I mean, the whole weight restriction thing is crazy because you're not supposed to push, pull, lift more than 5 pounds, but I don't think we realize how much stuff weighs more than 5 pounds. So it's like you really can't do a lot.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I got into the 3D printing. Is just I'm on a lot of prednisone, and so like I lay awake at night and I get maybe 4 to 7 hours of sleep, and I kind of don't mind it as long as like I'm not dragging throughout the day
Right.
because like you said, sometimes I'll be up 6 a.m. and I'll start a pot of coffee and I'll come down here and I'll just start working on the printers. Like the printers have given me something to do and look forward to, and I get excited. And I started making like this. You look behind me here. I got a little paint booth that I started making.
Mm-hmm.
It extends out to the window. So I mean, just little stuff like that. That like just being ingenuitive and creative and getting ideas from other people, and then trying to figure out, well, what can I do with my space and with what my precautions are, and it just just learning and growing kind of in the 3D print world and realizing how much stuff in 3D print because, again, I'm going to be traveling soon. And so I'm thinking about stuff I can print out for the van.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just fun. I'm into cosplay, but I've never gotten into cosplay, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So to have a full Halo outfit, I think would be awesome.
That would be cool.
I don't know. Go ahead.
I'm going to grab my charger real quick, and then I'll be right back, and then I'll let you finish that what you were about to say.
Okay.
Oh, all right, I'm back. So what were you saying?
Oh, I was just saying, like, getting into cosplay and having like a full Halo outfit would be super awesome. And I've seen people share prints online that you can print out a full Halo costume. And I don't know, like I almost would just like want a mannequin that's my
Just
size and dimension just to have up in like my place and dress it up so that like if people came over, they're like, "What's that?" I'm like,
no, it's
"Oh,
me.
that's the Halo armor that I printed out on my 3D printers."
That,
Like.
that'd be awesome.
And if I did want to do cosplay, like I'm not a super huge geek. I don't really know the deep Halo world other than like I've played the video games,
Right.
but know like Master Chief and his background and how he got to be and Cortana. I mean, they know the story, man, and they know the backstories, the story. I mean, they know everything. I'm
Right.
like, I just want to dress up in the suit because it's cool.
Yeah. But I mean, you realizing that self-awareness again, you realizing what you like, you
Yeah,
know, you like Halo, and then dude, that can lead you down some rabbit holes that you
yeah.
can't
I
come
mean,
out of.
I don't it's so much the Halo thing, or if I just like enjoy dressing up because when I was a kid, Halloween was always fun for me because I enjoyed putting on a mask and nobody knowing who I am.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I always liked having like a helmet or mask or something like that. And like even airsoft, like I bought these airsoft skull mask things, and I'm like, those are cool. I still have them, but I never wear them.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It's weird. It's like the idea of just like role playing, I guess, because I've even thought the same thing about like printing out a Spartan helmet and having like a legit Spartan outfit, kind of the way 300 portrays
Yeah.
it. Not,
I watched it 2 nights ago again,
yeah,
just for
not,
fun.
not anything historically correct, but the 300 version of the Spartans.
Yeah, you got to have that scratch over his left eye.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that'd
So
be cool. Um, Matter of fact, I was just scrolling through Instagram the other day. No, it was TikTok, and this guy and a group of his friends are printing out 3D printing out fat Pokemon. So like Pokemon that like wouldn't be like enormously like obese, like they have like a Bulbasaur that would how would it look if it was like 300 pounds? And it's just like
oh, geez, they just
it
like
cracked me up.
give them
Yeah,
rolls,
yeah.
shit
Like there's
like
rolls, like his cheeks are hanging over. Like it's he like there's like his neck is coming like out of his shell because he's so fat.
oh
It's
my goodness. With
so
the logo behind him.
huh?
I said with the McDonald's logo behind him.
Yeah,
3 meals a day, man.
accurate, accurate. Um, so I mentioned to you I lost a friend a couple months ago,
Yeah.
and she went through the double lung transplant. And last time I was actually able to talk to her face to face, we were at the CF Foundation, the Great Strides Walk in Oklahoma City, and she was telling me that the medication that she's on for the transplant was way worse than her normal day-to-day life with
Yeah.
just CF alone. How is those medications? I know you said you're on the prednisone, so you feel like I mean, your body's wide awake because of that antibiotic.
Yeah.
So what else is tough with after? What's tough with post transplant medically?
Man, there's a few different things that get me. The long-term effects of prednisone are really taking its toll on my blood sugar. And I've never had to monitor my blood glucose or anything like that. And my sugars seem to be high quite a lot. And it's just like I'm eating a relatively keto diet. Now, every once in a while, I'll have like pasta or like something that isn't so much keto, but I'm eating like a lot of like high fat protein type meals, fat bombs. Like I'm snacking on pork rinds. I literally have pork rinds right here because they're 0 carbs, 0 sugar, stuff like that. And
Yeah.
my sugars will still spike. I'll go to bed at like 126, which is kind of normal. It's a little higher than normal, but then I'll wake up and it's like 250. And
Yeah.
so like I have listened to everybody who preach keto and sugar free stuff like that, take charge of your health, diet, nutrition. But dude, when you go to bed at like 126 blood glucose and you wake up at 250 and that's a fasting blood glucose, like there's just no answer to that. Like I don't know how
So
the sugars are spiking with nothing on a fast, because when
I
you fast
I
go down.
think I know. I think I know. And I I've been working on the nutrition page for the website. And after this call, I would appreciate it if you went to the website because it is live, and just checked out what I have on the nutrition right now. Um, but a lot of people they don't realize protein takes a long time to break down, right?
Yeah.
what protein actually breaks down into is a sugar. So that could be part of it. It's called sucrose. Okay, that's the sugar from protein and then amino acids. So because it takes so much longer to break down and you are on keto, breaking down that protein gradually overnight and releasing that sucrose, it could have an effect. I'm not your dietitian. I'm not your doctor. That's just me connecting dots.
Right. Yeah, I suppose like if I'm eating if I'm like snacking on beef jerky at night before I go to bed, you know, then maybe that could be it.
Yeah. It was just an idea. It was just thought. I made sure that I kind of touched in the nutrition part. I'm breaking down like kind of like what the foods actually are and what they break down into, and then how our body uses it, and then the macros and the calories and how we're supposed to count them and stuff like that. So I'm it might be more medical terminology, and some people might skip right through that, or some
Right.
people might not even want to read it. I don't care. If you want to read it, it's there. It's free.
I think it's important, like especially anybody who's dealing with blood sugars or cystic fibrosis, I've always told people I've gained weight easier off of having a gym routine and eating a clean diet than I ever have eating candy and fast food joints. Because when I grew up, my doctors were like, oh yeah, fast food and all this stuff, high calorie, high caloric. Like they only paid attention to calories, but they didn't pay attention to the quality in calories. They just said, get it in.
Right.
But I have never been able to keep weight off of fast food or like junk food. The best I've ever been able to like pick up my weight and keep it is like rice and chicken. That's literally
Yeah.
been the absolute best way for me to gain and keep weight on is just rice and chicken. I used to get made fun of at work because I brought to lunch every single day rice and chicken. No kidding, dude. They were like, do you buy anything else? Do you make anything else? Do you know how to make anything else? I go, well, I can season it in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, exactly. Like I really don't need to. As long as I'm having like a cheat meal every now and then, and I'm making sure that my breakfast, like one of the meals is a little bit different.
Yeah.
I'm not becoming like a vitamin deficiency. I'm not it's there's a reason why that's like the staple for like health is chicken, rice, and broccoli. But I tried covering this part. I don't know if I should put it in the carbs area or the protein area, but like for instance, people that become lactose intolerant. Reason why we become lactose intolerant is lactose is the sugar from milk. We stop producing the enzyme lactate, which is normal. Being lactose intolerant isn't a sickness or a disease. It's name one other mammal on Earth that still consumes milk after they're grown.
Right.
We're not supposed to do it. So like people don't realize it's the sugars, and that's what I never understood. And you mentioned it too, how our doctors were like, eat as much food as you can, high calories, high fats, yada yada yada.
Right.
But what is the percentage of people with CF that have CF related diabetes?
Yeah, because like the sugar or just the carbs in general, like when you're just eating loose carbs and it's simple, like well, it breaks down into simple sugar and then it's just all the time. And because they're trying to keep a high caloric intake, the sugar is just that much more. So you're only putting yourself that much more at jeopardy trying to do that. And it's just not healthy. And then you got these kids who are on insulin pumps because they're constantly spiking their sugar because they're
Mm-hmm.
constantly trying to put in a huge caloric intake with all the wrong stuff.
Right. And I know I covered this part in the fats section, but with CF, we're told go have that McDonald's. But what people don't realize, whenever we have that fat intake that's so high, we tend to go towards the bad fats anyways as well, because if you increase your fat percentage, for your calories or your macros or whatever, the trans fats and the saturated fats are going to be increasing as well. So then that can lead to heart issues. I wish I met with the dietitian at Dr. Ray's office during a clinical week once. And I informed her I have my undergrad in exercise science. I'm coaching at this place right now. She's like, okay, how many calories are you eating a day? And I brought in my book because I knew I was going to talk to her. Yeah. And it was like 3,654 calories that day. I didn't have to do blood work. I already had like 3 meals in because it was around lunchtime. At that point in time, I was eating throughout the day constantly. And she's like, oh, that's way too much. I'm like, you don't realize that I'm about to go deadlift 405 pounds for 4 sets of 2 or 1 or whatever it is, and then finish the rest of my leg workout and then walk on the treadmill for an hour because my metabolism's up.
Yep.
I just wish the CF community had more nutrition help.
I wish the medical field had more nutrition help. Those doctors are only trained on medicine. They're not trained on nutrition. Because like what goes wrong, because like especially post-transplant right now, like my blood pressure has been going up and I don't know why. So I talk to them and I go, hey, my blood pressure is going up. I need to see a nutritionist. And they're like, well, stay away from salt. And I go, no, actually salt's not a bad thing because salt's actually a cleaning agent. And
we don't regulate it anyways.
Right. Most people are deficient. And you see it a lot of times. Like I can only say independent studies, and usually people are going to tell me that I'm wrong because somebody with a PhD is going to debunk that with medicine.
One test.
They're going to throw a medicine cell point in there, and I'm going to be like, whatever, man. Like all medicine comes from something from the earth, and if that's the case, I was like, something from the earth will benefit us just as well without having to synthesize it. Yeah. And I'm a huge believer in like natural health and natural immunity. So like it's just the way my mind works, and you can't argue with me because I can't change my mind about it. But if you can take a medicine and you're making it from the earth, then it's just in my head that you might as well just consume what's in the earth, Yeah.
So. And that's hard to argue with. It really is. Like I mentioned earlier, my wife has a sore throat right now. So she's a nurse. So they are the worst patients in the world. And I had her gargle warm water with salt and lemon juice in it. Yeah. Like, the warm water should, exfoliate all the pores and open up the sinus cavity. And the salt will help any infection in your throat because that's where it's itching, and that's why you have lost your voice. And then I'll add a little bit of lemon juice in it for some vitamins and to cut the salt flavor. Like you're definitely low in vitamins anyways. And so I'm like, try that. And she's like, oh, that kind of helped. I'm like, no.
Anytime we have like sore throats or common cold type stuff like that, sinuses, whatever it may be, we actually do what we call it a hot toddy. We'll take some type of whiskey or bourbon that's 100 proof and do a shot. And then we do honey and lemon juice and like really hot water. And you drink it.
Yeah.
And clear stuff up. And, again, if you do that for a day, couple of days until like your symptoms are relieved, but it's a very natural.
Yeah.
Because the alcohol is going to burn stuff. You got the lemon juice for your vitamin C, whatever. I think the honey is just to sweeten it, but there's good properties in honey. I don't remember all of them. I read stuff everywhere and I can never regurgitate it. So I'm like the worst person when I'm trying to debate somebody.
Yeah.
I'm like, I read somewhere and they're like, what, Instagram? And I'm like, well, Facebook or Instagram provides a study that was independently done, science-based evidence, like they want to say, and be like, when you put 500 people up to a blind study to 500 people and you find out that this is what you're finding, science-based evidence, and then they're like, where'd that come from? And I'm like, who cares, man? Like,
try it and tell me how you feel.
because you think, and that's what I hate about like debates anymore, is like they'll go grab an article from some PhD somewhere, upload it through Stanford, and like, this is why you're wrong. I'm like, well, my article says the same thing, which is a PhD independent study that proves you wrong. So are we just grabbing facts from people we don't know to argue, each other's case? Like, it doesn't matter. We all put our faith into something, and you're going to believe in what you want to believe in.
Yeah.
And so I believe in natural immunity. So people who want to come at me with synthesized or synthetic medicines that they're like, here's a powder compacted into a pill form that you can swallow and make you feel all better. I'm like, how about we try like acupuncture, or go get adjusted at the chiropractor, because that releases toxins that your body's holding in, or, like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
which is funny because like being somebody with cystic fibrosis, I've been taking medicine my whole life and I just don't like it. And like right now I'm on a ton of medicine to suppress my immune system.
Right.
And they do like all these vaccine shots and stuff. And I'm like, hold up.
Yeah.
Is there something else we can do? Because I don't want to be like going half brain dead in 10 years because you guys thought all this stuff was a good idea.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, oh, well, it turns out, these vaccines have this long-term side effect that we didn't know about. Well, yeah, duh.
Yeah. And I'm right there with you. As of right now, I take 365 pills a week and 3 nebulizers in the morning, 2 in the evening. But there's something about, and with CF, we're not supposed to get in saunas or steam rooms because of, right. But there's something about a warm shower that's natural, and it opens up your pores. It releases the toxins, and you feel better. We don't always have to go for the Sudafed or, the decongestant. And of course, we're at Walmart earlier, and my wife is like, oh, can you grab that? And I just see cough suppressant on it. I'm like, no, you shouldn't take that, because with CF, we're not supposed to take that because we try to cough up everything that we can. And I was like, oh, wait, maybe you can take it. You're the nurse. You do you on this one. I'm not going to argue. But she has been like coughing stuff up. I'm like, no, you want that out of you. Don't take a cough suppressant. So like you can tell, like, and that's why her throat hurts, is because her sinuses are draining down to her chest.
Yeah.
Don't take a cough suppressant. Cough it up.
Yeah.
I know it hurts your throat, but I'm there with you. The only thing I cannot get on, my cousin does it, and I'm sorry, Jacqueline. Sorry, Sissy. She's really big into the oils.
I wonder about that though sometimes, because like I had read somewhere once about like different oils. If you drop it into your belly button's like super absorbent, because that's where you got all your nutrients, like when you're
right as a kid or as a fetus. Yeah.
And so like I'm like, okay, how much of this is true? Because they're talking like eucalyptus and all this stuff, and they're like, put it in your belly button, rub it around, and it's like this natural health thing. And I'm like, I don't know, because how chronic symptoms, like you just tickle a little cough and like you can do some oils to help you out. But because like Vicks Vapor Rub used to help me when I was younger.
Yeah.
Vapor Rub in my adult years didn't do crap. So it's like the disease
we picked them up for her.
Yeah. So like the diseases progress so chronically that it's like what used to work naturally, menthol, which is pretty much what Vicks is, didn't really, I could smell it, but I could be stuffed all day long and Vicks wouldn't do a thing.
Yeah, I'll defend her a little bit. I do think she like burns the oils almost like a Scentsy. So like I get it. If you put like mint in there, that might open up your sinuses. If you put lemon in there, that might help your headache. If if you put lavender in there, you might be in a better mood. I don't know, but it's I don't know. I'm just going to drop that one. I don't want her calling me from Minnesota, being like, "Hey, I heard you on the podcast."
Right. I don't
I'm like,
know.
sorry.
So with your cystic fibrosis, what do you think? What do you think you wish? Let me rephrase that. What do you wish people would know about CF growing up?
From the people that were around me, I was not a good example of what CF should look like.
You're gonna have to
And
expand.
I know that sounds weird. Like I had a friend, his older brother was writing a paper. We were out at the baseball field, and he started asking me questions because he was writing a paper over CF. And his name's Carlton Grimes, and he kind of called the teacher out. The teacher was up in front of the class saying they look like monkeys. They have clubbed fingers that look like spoons and like all kinds of weird stuff, right? And I had to tell him what I went through, but then at the same time, I was young, so I couldn't really help him because I didn't understand a lot. I was like in elementary school, he was in high school, but my mom helped him pull up some of the stuff from the CF Foundation and some other like WebMD stuff for his paper.
Yeah.
And he made his teacher look like an idiot. But at the same time, I had friends that were, because of how I looked, and they never saw me on my medication, or I played baseball, basketball, football, golf, um, archery. I helped my brother wrestle. I was super active. So
Yeah.
they
Me.
thought that CF was no big deal.
Yeah. I was the same way, man. I had two older brothers that kept me very active. So we would rollerblade, ride bikes. I was a what we call pool rat. So I was at the pool every single day in the summer when I was younger. Lifeguards loved and hated to see me at the same time, because I would go to the pool and I was there all day from open to close. So you would think nothing of it. And I did high school sports. I did football in middle school. I did cross country, wrestling, track in high school. And I participated in all the sports, not necessarily that I was super awesome at them. But looking back, I realized, because in my mind, I was just like, what I was going through is what everybody was going through. And I never let cystic fibrosis be something that held me back or discouraged me from trying something. And so I did everything that I could or that I wanted to. And only in my college years did I look back and be like, I guess it did affect me a little bit, because when I talked to my high school wrestling buddy, he was like, I loved wrestling with you in high school. And I go, why? He goes, because we always got cough breaks. And I go, what? He's like, yeah, dude, we'd go for 6-minute goes and you'd have to cough for like half of it. I go, crap, I guess it did affect me. But like in the time, you're like, you don't think of it because you're like, I have to cough, like I have to breathe, like a normal thing. But looking back on it, I'm like, oh yeah, I was not wrestling for 2 to 3 minutes when everybody else was conditioning and wrestling for that 2 to 3 minutes. Opens your eyes, you're like, nah, I didn't let it define me, but it definitely shaped me in some ways.
That story's good. I'm sure I have stories like that, but so we can wrap it up here in a second, but I wanted you to kind of expand on maybe that mental health topic we were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
and maybe give some advice to who any CFer that listens to this, whether it's next month, whenever this will actually launch. So I have like 5 more interviews set up over the next
Yep.
month, and I'm going to plan on actually releasing them starting February. But what is some quick little advice or story that could possibly help someone with CF?
Ah, man, I I should have been thinking about this all week. But it's hard because I'm 33 years old and I've got so much. I've been through a lot. And so I'll just say this, and I'll get deep and dark. I was a freshman in college, and I had done, I was going down a path that everybody set me down to, because they said I should go into respiratory therapy because of the cystic fibrosis. I'm familiar with the respiratory system. I'd be good at it. So I got into the respiratory program. And then it was the time to decide what school to go to. So somebody said, hey, DMAC's a great school. Go there. And so I said, okay, I'm going to DMAC. And I kind of just played this script. Like, people, you know how, have you ever heard like people give you a script and sometimes you play it? So I was kind of playing this script, but when I got into when I got into college, and I was in the respiratory program, and I was kind of going through the motions, if you will, I got very depressed, and I realized I didn't want to go to respiratory therapy, and I didn't want to go to school. I didn't even want to be in school at all. I hated school. And I kind of just lost purpose. And I think that's the biggest factor, is I lost purpose, started getting depressed because I didn't even want to work a part-time job, and I didn't even want to hang out with friends. Like, I just didn't want to do anything. And at that point is when I kind of got to the point where I was like, I wanted to end my life because I just didn't see the purpose in anything. And if I can strike a chord with anybody, it's this: you need to take time to discover what it is you do enjoy, because we go through these tough times in life, and we get inside of our own heads a lot, and everything that's going on around us kind of gets quiet, and it seems like there's nothing that's happening for us. But I don't know. It's hard to put an emotion into words. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just simply said, you got to just keep swimming. You got to just keep going, because you haven't had the best day in your life yet.
I like that.
I think that's an awesome mindset to have, is like, we have a lot of crappy days, and I'm guilty of this still, is like, we always wishing for tomorrow to come, but then yet we always miss yesterday. Because if you ever think about it, when you think about like your yesterdays and your last years, you only think about the good stuff, and you forget about all the hard, crappy stuff. But anytime we're going through the midst of it, it seems tough, but it's always worth it in the end. And hard work is always worth it in the end, because when you look back on it, when you look back on your life, it just seems like the anxieties and the stresses that you never remember them. I don't anyway. I personally don't remember my anxieties and stresses when I look back on life. I remember, gosh, that was a fun time. I wish I could go back to that. You know what I mean? But then you forget, like, there was hard times too. And yeah, I feel like it's too simply said that you just keep going, and the hard work pays off, and there's good things that come from hard work, and you just got to keep going. And when you have your tough days, don't let it defeat you. Ships sink not because they're in the water, but because they let the water get in them. And it's kind of the same thing. Like, don't let the world get inside your heart and sink you. You got to be in the world, but not of it. That's kind of like a religious saying.
Yeah.
Be in the world, but not of it. And when you start letting other people's negativity get inside your heart, and you start letting like what's going on in the news get inside your heart, it weighs you down, and that all that stuff is not for you to worry about. I think people need to worry about what makes them happy, and they need to worry about what excites them, and the positivity of what excites them, so whatever those hobbies or things may be, a lot of people have made careers off of their hobbies and what excites them and what makes them happy. And I would say, don't get stuck into a corporate role mindset. Most people stick to the goal. You work a job to feed your lifestyle, and don't get stuck into a job that's not going to that's going to keep you from your lifestyle, because a lot of people make a lot of money, but then they don't have time to spend the money.
Right.
So you don't get wrapped up into the money. You just got to do from the day to day that it's going to supply your lifestyle. And I tell people, for me personally, I'm looking to travel a little bit more full time, and realistically that overhead is very small. So what I need to make for money is very small. I don't need to have a 6-figure paying job. I can probably live off $30,000 to $40,000. And some people are like, well, that is not a lot of money. like, well, I don't need a lot. I don't want a lot. You know,
Right.
I really want to travel. I really want to make friends. I want to see people from across the world if I can. And I've done that with Instagram. Like, online is awesome
Yeah.
because I've met people from Greece that I've done live Instagram chats with, and I've talked to people from the East Coast. I've got a couple friends in Germany that I talk to. I have a couple friends over in Austria that I've met in California, actually, but like, I keep in touch with them. They're in Austria. So the internet's a really cool thing, and I just think we get so stuck in our corners of the world, and we get inside of our own heads, and I think that's a troubling spot, because the devil, how does that say, the devil toils with idle hands.
Mm-hmm.
You heard that? So like,
Yep.
so that's it. Just keep going, keep busy, do what excites you, and the rest is going to take care of itself.
There you go.
So I hope everyone took something away from that interview, and I love how Brandon looks at life after the double lung transplant and life daily with CF. What he likes to do with his time, to his relationship with his brothers, and just overall how his perspective could hopefully influence you. I enjoyed it. With that being said, please make sure to like and subscribe. Okay, if you know anybody, have anybody in your family, so on and so forth, that has cystic fibrosis, go ahead and send them this, and also fill out that form at 65roseathletics.com. That way you could be on the podcast and the YouTube. I'm trying to build a community, and it only works if you join the community. So, with that being said, I am now pre-selling this t-shirt. So this is what the front looks like. It's just the lungs with the rose in the middle, and then this is what the back looks like. 65 Rose Athletics, Cystic Fibrosis Fitness Community. Okay, so again, go ahead, order that shirt. I will be sending them out towards the end of January, anywhere between the 25th and the 30th. So lastly, I'm a strength and conditioning coach at heart, hence why this is a fitness community. I've coached at 3 universities, and now it's my turn to coach you, and I would really love to. I am offering the $0 registration 5-week Ultimate Starters Transformation. So it's $0 registration. All what you do is you go to the homepage at 65roseathletics.com, register for that. That part is $0. If you have any questions, go ahead and register, because that's just me reaching out to you about the transformation. Okay. If you have questions but you're nervous to ask me personally, you can always chat me through the website. My email is also on the homepage of the website. And if you go to the one-on-one coaching, find the program. There's a read more section. You can read all about it. So anyways, I hope you have a fantastic 2023. This is January 1st of 2023. So there will be more videos and interviews to come, but only if you reach out to me. And I'll be trying to reach out to you as well. Thanks.